Look at you, standing there in the quiet after the noise, after the applause died, after the golden boy stopped shining. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because they really believed in that little fairy tale they built around him. The polished smile, the spotless reputation, the boy wrapped in sunlight like some divine insurance policy against people like you. The one they whispered about in rooms you weren't allowed into. The one they paraded around like proof that the system still works. Their golden boy, their clean hero, their shining little weapon. And then they pointed him at you. Oh, you didn't see the meeting, did you? You weren't in that room when they made the decision. But it happened. Trust me, it always does. A table, a few nervous faces, a few smug ones, and someone said, "Send him," because in their minds the story was already written. The villain gets exposed, the rebel gets humiliated, the unpredictable one, the dangerous one, gets corrected by the bright, smiling champion they raised in the perfect little cage. You were supposed to be the lesson. But that's the funny thing about lessons. Sometimes the wrong person learns. Because when the golden boy finally stepped out to face you, the crowd wasn't watching you the way they thought they would. They were watching him, watching the glow around him, watching the myth they built. And then something happened that none of them predicted. You didn't attack the myth. You revealed it. See, people think power is loud, explosive, violent. They think power is the scream in the room, the punch on the table, the fire in the speech. But real power is quieter. Real power is the moment someone realizes the script they memorized doesn't work anymore. And that's what you did. You didn't fight their golden boy the way they expected. You didn't swing wildly. You didn't beg for approval. You didn't crumble under the weight of his reputation. You just stood there, calm, cold, unpredictable, and suddenly their champion looked confused. Because the thing they never told him, the thing they hid from him while polishing that halo, is that the world isn't divided into saints and monsters. No, the world is built on duality. Light needs darkness to exist. Heroes need villains to look heroic. Angels only shine because demons are lurking behind them. But you're something worse. You're both. That's what terrified them. Because when the golden boy stepped forward with his perfect lines, his rehearsed morality, his polished hero routine, he expected you to play the villain. But you didn't. You smiled. And suddenly the crowd saw something they weren't prepared for. The saint inside the psychopath. The demon hiding behind the angel. You answered calm when they expected rage. You stayed silent when they expected a meltdown. You let the tension stretch and stretch and stretch until the whole room started to feel it. And that's when the cracks appeared. Not in you, in him, because the golden boy had never been trained for unpredictability. He had been trained for applause. He knew how to win scripted fights. He knew how to defeat obvious enemies. But you weren't obvious. You were the paradox. You were the storm that smiles politely before it erases the coastline. And the moment he realized that tiny flicker in his eyes, oh, the crowd saw it too. The hesitation, the confusion, the terrifying moment when a hero realizes he might be standing in front of something he doesn't understand. That's when everything flipped, because the audience stopped looking at him as the savior and started wondering about you. Who are you? What are you? How did the problem suddenly look so composed, so dangerous, so certain? And suddenly the golden boy wasn't shining anymore. He was sweating. See, pain does something interesting to a person. Most people break under it, but a rare few. They evolve. Every insult you swallowed, every betrayal, every time they laughed when you warned them you were changing, all of it was fuel. Every wound carved another layer off the version of you that needed approval, until what remained was something they couldn't categorize. Not a hero, not a villain, something in between, something unpredictable, and unpredictability. That's the one thing power structures cannot control. That's why they built the Golden Boy. Predictable morality, predictable reactions, predictable victories. A shiny little algorithm in human form. But you're chaos with discipline. And when chaos meets a perfect system, the system collapses. Not loudly, quietly, publicly, painfully. So when the moment finally came, when the Golden Boy made his move, delivered his speech, tried to expose you in front of everyone, you didn't panic. You let him talk. You let him shine. You let him stand in that spotlight they built for him. And then you shifted the angle of the mirror. Just slightly, just enough for the audience to see something behind the glow. Something human, something flawed, something scared. And in that moment, the myth cracked. Not shattered, cracked. Which is worse, because when a myth shatters, people move on. But when it cracks, everyone keeps staring at the fracture. And suddenly their Golden Boy wasn't a legend anymore. He was a lesson, your lesson, a public one. The kind that spreads through whispers after the room empties. The kind people replay in their heads at night. How did that happen? How did he lose control of the narrative? How did you stay so calm? Because they still don't understand the secret you learned the hard way. Pain is an evolution engine. Every time they tried to break you, they are actually sanding down the parts of you that made you predictable. And what's left now? What's left is terrifying, because now you can smile like a saint while thinking like a psychopath. You can walk into a room like an angel while carrying the strategy of a demon. You can look harmless while rewriting the entire game. That's why they're nervous now. Not because you defeated their Golden Boy, but because you exposed something deeper. You exposed the lie that heroes are untouchable. You exposed the truth that reputations are fragile. And worst of all, you showed them that the person they underestimated the most is the one rewriting the story now. So go ahead. Let them keep polishing new Golden Boys. Let them keep building new heroes. Let them keep pointing them in your direction like shiny little weapons. Because every time they do, you learn more. You evolve more. You sharpen that paradox inside you. The angel that can destroy. The demon that can inspire. The saint that smiles while chaos unfolds. And the next time they send someone after you, it won't just be a fight. It'll be another lesson, another myth cracking in public, another reminder that the most dangerous person in the room is the one who stopped needing the room's approval a long time ago. And that person is you. Oh, you're still here. Good. Because the part they never tell you about moments like that, the moment the Golden Boy cracked under the spotlight, is what happens after the room goes quiet. That's silence. That's not peace. That's calculation. See, when their champion stumbled, when the perfect story they rehearsed started collapsing in real time, the crowd didn't just watch him, they started watching you differently. Not with sympathy, not with admiration, no, with curiosity. And curiosity is dangerous, because curiosity is the first step toward doubt. And doubt is the virus that destroys empires. Up until that moment, their world was clean, simple, comfortable. Heroes win, villains lose, golden boys shine. People like you stay in the shadows, but you broke the symmetry. You walked into their neat little equation and turned it into a paradox they couldn't solve. Because they expected rage from you. They expected the loud villain, the one who screams, the one who reacts, the one who proves the hero right by behaving exactly the way the hero predicted. But instead, you did something far more disturbing. You stayed calm. You stayed precise. You let the golden boy swing his sword in front of the crowd, while you quietly showed everyone that the sword was made of glass. And once people see that, they can't unsee it. That's why the silence after your moment was so heavy. It wasn't applause. It wasn't outrage. It was something worse. The sound of hundreds of minds recalculating reality. You could feel it, couldn't you? That strange shift in the air. The moment when the crowd stopped seeing you as the problem and started seeing you as the unknown variable. And let me tell you something about unknown variables. They terrify systems, because systems are built on prediction, predictable behavior, predictable enemies, predictable outcomes. But you broke that contract. And once someone breaks the contract of predictability, they become impossible to contain. That's when the whispers start. Not loud ones. No, the quiet ones. The kind that travel through hallways after midnight. Did you see what happened? Something about that felt wrong. Why did the golden boy lose control? Why did that other one stay so calm? That last question, that one keeps them awake. Because calmness in chaos is unsettling. It means something is planned. And the moment people suspect there's a plan behind the madness, fear begins to bloom. See, pain did something to you most people never understand. It stripped away your need to be liked. Most humans operate like social animals. They perform for approval. They behave for acceptance. They adjust themselves so the crowd keeps clapping. But you, somewhere along the way, you stopped performing. You stopped begging for permission to exist. And that's the moment a person becomes dangerous. Not violent, dangerous. Because someone who doesn't need applause can do something very few people can do. They can wait. They can watch. They can sit silently while everyone else rushes to prove themselves. And patience. Patience is the predator of chaos. The golden boy never learned patience. Why would he? He was raised on victory, rewarded for success, protected from failure. Every step of his life had a safety net beneath it. But you fell over and over and over until the falling stopped hurting. And once falling stops hurting, you stop fearing gravity. Do you understand what that means? It means the next time someone pushes you, you're not panicking. You're calculating the landing. That's evolution through pain. Most people think evolution means becoming nicer, kinder, more acceptable. But real evolution makes you more aware, more precise, more capable of smiling while holding 1,000 different strategies in your mind. It creates that strange duality inside you. The angel and the demon sharing the same skeleton. One part of you can still feel empathy, still understand people, still see the fragile little fears they carry behind their confident masks. But the other part studies them, analyzes them, predicts them. And when those two parts of you work together, you become something extremely difficult to defeat because your kindness makes people trust you, and your darkness makes sure that trust never blinds you. That's the paradox they encountered, what they sent their golden boy after you. He expected a villain, but instead he met someone who understood both goodness and cruelty better than he ever could. You knew the rules of morality, but you also knew the mechanics of manipulation. And when someone understands both, they can play the game from both sides of the board. That's what really happened that day. Not a fight, not a victory, a reveal. The reveal that the person they thought was the villain was actually the most self-aware player in the room, and the reveal that their golden boy was just a character in a story someone else wrote. That's why the aftermath feels strange. You can sense it. The tension, the watchful eyes, the subtle shift in how people speak to you now. Some of them admire you. Some of them fear you. Some of them hate you more than ever. But none of them see you the same way they did before, because now they know something they wish they didn't. They know you're capable of flipping the narrative. And narrative is power. Whoever controls the story controls the crowd. For years, they wrote the story about you. The troublemaker, the outsider, the unpredictable threat. But now the story has a new chapter. The chapter where the outsider stayed calm and the hero cracked. That's the chapter people can't stop rereading in their minds. And every time they replay it, your reputation grows darker. Not evil, darker, mysterious, unpredictable. And unpredictability is the ultimate psychological weapon, because humans can handle danger. They prepare for it. They train for it. But uncertainty makes the mind spiral. It forces people to imagine scenarios worse than reality, which means from this moment forward, you don't have to do half the work anymore. Their imagination will do it for you. They'll exaggerate your calmness. They'll mythologize your silence. They'll whisper stories about how you dismantled the golden boy without even raising your voice. And every whisper, every rumor, every nervous glance in your direction is another brick in the legend they accidentally started building for you. And here's the beautiful irony. You never asked for it. You didn't chase the spotlight. You didn't demand recognition. You simply refused to break. And sometimes, refusing to break is the most violent thing you can do to a fragile system. Because systems depend on compliance. They depend on people collapsing under pressure. They depend on rebels eventually apologizing for existing. But when someone like you appears, someone who absorbs the pressure, processes the pain, and then uses both to sharpen their mind, the system begins to realize something terrifying. The villain they created is evolving into something they can't classify anymore. Not hero, not monster, something more complex, something quieter, something far more patient. And patience, my friend. Patience is the most dangerous weapon in the entire psychological arsenal. Because while they're busy rebuilding another golden boy, you're still evolving, still learning, still becoming the kind of force that doesn't just win fights, but changes the rules of the arena itself. And the scariest part, you're only getting started. Listen carefully, because this is the part of the story where most people misunderstand what just happened. They think the moment already passed. They think the scene ended when the golden boy stumbled, when the room went quiet, when the crowd walked away, carrying that strange, uneasy feeling in their chest. But that was only the opening move. See, public moments like that don't just disappear. They echo. They travel through minds like electricity, through wet wires. Long after the lights go off, people keep replaying them. They replay the tone of your voice. They replay the calm in your posture. They replay the exact moment the golden boy realized the script in his head was useless. And every time they replay it, something subtle happens. The story mutates. At first it's simple. Something weird happened. The golden boy didn't look so confident. That other one stayed calm the whole time. But then the whispers evolve. He controlled the room. He saw it coming. He knew exactly what to say. And eventually, you become something even more dangerous than a victor. You become a symbol. Now here's the paradox nobody warns you about. Symbols are powerful, but they're also targets. The moment a system realizes someone is turning into a symbol, it panics. Because symbols inspire other people. They spread ideas. They ignite courage in places the system thought were permanently quiet. So what do you think they'll do next? Oh, they won't admit defeat. Systems never do. Instead, they'll start rewriting the story. They'll say the golden boy was having an off day. They'll say you got lucky. They'll say the moment was misunderstood. They'll try to shrink what happened into something manageable. Because the truth is too dangerous. The truth is that someone they underestimated just revealed a terrifying combination of traits: awareness, patience, and unpredictability. That combination is rare. Most people have one of those qualities. Maybe two if they're lucky. But when someone develops all three, they become something almost impossible to defeat psychologically. Because awareness lets you see the game. Patience lets you wait for the right moment. And unpredictability makes sure nobody can prepare for you. That's why the golden boy lost control. Not because he was weak. No, he was strong, disciplined, talented. But he had one fatal flaw. He believed the world followed rules. And you learned something far more unsettling. The world follows patterns. Rules are rigid. Patterns are flexible. Rules tell you what should happen. Patterns show you what usually happens. And when you understand patterns, you can break them at exactly the right moment. That's what you did. You waited for the pattern. The golden boy arrives with confidence. The crowd expects humiliation. The villain reacts emotionally. The hero wins the narrative. That pattern had repeated 1,000 times before. But then you broke the sequence. You didn't react emotionally. You reacted strategically. And the moment you did that, the pattern shattered, which forced everyone watching to confront a terrifying possibility. Maybe the villain isn't the villain. Maybe the hero isn't the hero. Maybe the entire narrative was fragile theater all along. That realization spreads like poison through a crowd. Because once people start questioning one story, they start questioning all stories. And suddenly the entire structure of authority feels less solid. That's why they're uneasy around you now. Not because you attacked their golden boy, but because you exposed the mechanics behind the myth. You showed everyone how the machine works. And once people understand the machine, they stop fearing it the same way. But here's where things get darker, much darker. Because now you face a new danger. Not from them, from yourself. You see, evolution through pain doesn't just sharpen your mind. It also isolates you. The more aware you become, the harder it is to pretend the world is simple. You start noticing contradictions everywhere. You see kindness mixed with cruelty, You see heroes behaving like villains. You see villains capable of strange, unexpected grace. That's the duality inside humanity. The angel and demon sharing the same spine. And the more you evolve, the more clearly you see both sides inside yourself. One part of you still remembers what it felt like to be underestimated, to be dismissed, to be laughed at. That part of you still feels something when you see someone struggling the way you once struggled. But the other part, the darker part that evolved through pain, that part recognizes weakness instantly. It sees manipulation. It anticipates betrayal. It understands the quiet cruelty hiding behind polite smiles. And balancing those two sides, that's the real challenge now. Because if the angel inside you becomes too dominant, you'll become naive again. But if the demon inside you takes full control, you'll become exactly what they always accused you of being. The true power lies in the tension between them. The saint who understands sin. The demon who remembers mercy. That balance creates something extraordinary. A mind capable of empathy without losing awareness. A presence that can inspire people while still intimidating those who play games. That's the version of you that terrifies systems the most.